Send me $1,260 for prom, my sister demanded. My reply was cold, earn it yourself. Minutes later, my phone lit up, pay or get out of this family. That night, with shaking hands and a breaking heart, I whispered, cancel, cancel, cancel everything. By 8:30 a.m. the next morning, they had no idea what was coming. Before I continue, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything to me. You want to know who I am? I'm 20 years old, and I've been grinding my way through life since I was 16. While other kids were asking for lunch money, I was working double shifts at a grocery store just to buy my own school supplies. I'm a senior software engineer now, pulling in six figures, and every single dollar I earn comes from the sweat of my brow and the sacrifice of my youth. I built my life from nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing. But let me tell you about my family. My parents, God bless their delusional hearts, have spent the last decade pouring every resource they could scrape together into my younger sister Emma. Emma, the golden child, the princess who's never worked a day in her life and never will if my parents have anything to say about it. At 22, she's still living at home, still getting her car payments covered, still having her credit card bills mysteriously disappear every month. I remember when I was her age, begging my parents for help with college tuition. You're smart, they said, you'll figure it out. So I did. I figured it out with student loans that took me 8 years to pay off. I figured it out by eating ramen noodles for dinner 3 nights a week. I figured it out by working weekends while my classmates were partying. But Emma? Emma gets everything handed to her on a silver platter. New iPhone every year. Designer clothes for every season. Spring break trips to Cancun while I was spending my spring breaks working overtime to make rent. The contrast is so stark it makes my teeth ache. And where do I fit into this family portrait? I'm the outsider, the one who made it and therefore owes everyone else a piece of my success. I'm responsible, reliable, and completely undervalued. I'm the one they call when they need a cosigner. I'm the one they guilt trip when Emma wants something new. I'm the ATM with a heartbeat, and I'm so tired of it I could scream. So when Emma's text came through demanding $1,260 for prom, something inside me snapped. Not asked. Demanded. Like it was my obligation. Like I existed solely to fund her fairy tale life while I lived in the real world, paying my own bills and building my own future. Send me $1,260 for prom. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of that message made my hands shake. $1,260. Do you know what I could do with that money? That's my car payment and insurance for 2 months. That's a week of vacation I've been saving for. That's money I earned by sitting in meetings, debugging code, and solving problems that would make Emma's brain melt. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what came next. My phone started buzzing. First Emma, then Mom, then Dad. A coordinated assault on my conscience. Emma's voice was shrill and entitled. I can't believe you're being so selfish. Everyone else's siblings are helping them. Then Mom chimed in with her guilt trip symphony. Honey, this is Emma's senior prom. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You know how important this is to her. And finally Dad, with his disappointed patriarch routine. Son, we raised you better than this. Family takes care of family. Family takes care of family. That phrase has been the soundtrack to my exploitation for years. It's the magic words they use whenever they want something from me. But let me ask you something. When has this family ever taken care of me? When I was 18 and my car broke down, did family take care of family? No, I took 3 buses to work for 2 months while I saved up for repairs. When I was 23 and got pneumonia, did family take care of family? No, I dragged myself to urgent care and paid the bill myself because I didn't want to burden anyone. But now when Princess Emma wants to play Cinderella for one night, suddenly it's all about family taking care of family. The calls kept coming. Emma's voice getting higher and more hysterical with each conversation. You're ruining my life. You're the worst brother ever. I hate you. Classic Emma, turning on the waterworks when she doesn't get her way. Then Mom pulled out the heavy artillery. If you don't help your sister, you're not welcome at family dinner this Sunday. And that's when Dad delivered the killing blow. Pay or get out of this family. Get out of this family. Those words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. After everything I've sacrificed, after all the times I've swallowed my pride and opened my wallet, after years of being the responsible one while Emma got to be the beloved one, now I'm being threatened with exile because I won't fund her fantasy? That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at my phone, my hands literally shaking with a mixture of rage and heartbreak. I thought about all the times I'd said yes when I wanted to say no. All the times I'd transferred money I couldn't afford to spare. All the times I'd been the good son, the reliable brother, the family ATM. I thought about my prom. You know what I wore to my prom? A suit from Goodwill that didn't quite fit right and shoes that pinched my feet all night. I paid for it myself, working extra shifts at the grocery store. And I was proud of that suit because I earned it. But Emma? Emma needs $1,260 for one night. For a dress she'll wear once, shoes she'll probably leave in a corner somewhere, hair and makeup that will be washed away before midnight. $1,260 for a memory while I'm supposed to sacrifice my financial stability for her Instagram moment. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. With my hands still shaking, I pulled out my laptop and started typing. Cancel, cancel, cancel everything. I canceled the autopay I'd set up for Emma's car insurance. Cancel. I canceled the credit card where I was listed as an authorized user and had been paying the balance. Cancel. I canceled my contribution to the Emma's college fund that my parents had guilt-tripped me into supporting. Cancel. Every financial tie I had to that family, gone with a few clicks. Every automatic payment that had been draining my account to support their princess, terminated. The relief was immediate and terrifying. By 8:30 a.m. the next morning, they had no idea what was coming. But I wasn't done. Oh no, I was just getting started. Because as I sat there in the aftermath of my cancellation spree, something was nagging at me. A memory of a bank notification I dismissed a few weeks earlier. A charge on my account that I'd assumed was a mistake. I pulled up my banking app and started scrolling through months of transactions. And that's when I saw it. The pattern I'd been too trusting, too naive to notice before. Small withdrawals. $50 here, $75 there. Always just under the amount that would trigger a fraud alert. Always on days when I was busy at work and not paying attention to my phone. But they added up. Oh God, they added up to thousands. My heart started pounding as I dug deeper. There it was, a transfer of $400 to Emma's account 3 months ago. Another $300 6 weeks ago. A $200 charge at a boutique where Emma likes to shop. A $150 charge at that salon where she gets her nails done. They'd been stealing from me. Not borrowing, stealing. Because you don't borrow money without asking, and you sure as hell don't borrow money with no intention of paying it back. I grabbed my statements from the past year and spread them across my kitchen table. The evidence was overwhelming. Nearly $5,000 in unauthorized charges, transfers, and payments. $5,000 of my hard-earned money gone to fund Emma's lifestyle while I lived modestly, saving for my future. The betrayal cut so deep I could barely breathe. This wasn't just about prom money anymore. This was about years of systematic theft disguised as family obligation. This was about them seeing me not as a son and brother, but as a resource to be exploited. I thought about all the times Emma had shown up wearing something new and expensive. "Oh, this old thing," she'd say with that innocent smile. "Old thing, my ass." That old thing was purchased with money stolen from my account. I thought about my parents' lectures about responsibility and family values while they were actively helping their daughter steal from their son. The hypocrisy was suffocating. And the worst part? They'd made me feel guilty for not giving more. They'd painted me as the selfish one, the bad brother, the ungrateful son, while they were literally picking my pocket. That's when the anger really hit. Not the flash of frustration I'd felt at Emma's demand, but a deep, burning rage that made my vision blur. They'd played me for a fool. They'd used my love for them, my desire to be a good family member, as a weapon against me. I printed out every statement, highlighted every unauthorized charge, and organized it all into a folder. The evidence was damning. $5,000. That's a decent used car. That's a down payment on a house. That's a year of groceries. That's my money, stolen one transaction at a time by the people who were supposed to love and protect me. The phone started ringing again around 9 a.m. Emma, probably wondering why her car insurance payment had bounced. Then Mom, likely confused about why her credit card was declined. Then Dad, probably getting calls from both of them. I let it ring. I had a confrontation to plan. By noon, they were desperate. The voicemails were getting frantic. Emma's voice cracking as she realized her financial safety net was gone. Mom's confusion turning to concern as she started to piece together what was happening. Dad's anger building as he demanded I call them back immediately. But I wasn't ready to talk. I was too angry, too hurt, too betrayed. I needed time to process what they'd done to me. I needed time to decide how I was going to handle this nuclear bomb they'd forced me to build. That afternoon, I drove to my parents' house. I didn't call ahead. I didn't warn them I was coming. I just showed up with my folder of evidence and a heart full of rage. They were all there, of course, having their little family meeting about the mean brother who'd cut off their gravy train, planning their strategy for guilting me back into submission, working on their sob story about poor Emma's ruined prom dreams. I walked in without knocking. They were sitting around the kitchen table, the same table where I'd done homework while Emma played video games, the same table where I'd eaten countless dinners while listening to them plan Emma's next expensive adventure. We need to talk, I said, and my voice was so cold it surprised even me. Dad started first, because he always does. Son, we're disappointed in you. Cutting off Emma like that, right before prom. That's not the man we raised. The man you raised? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. The man you raised works 60 hours a week to support himself while his sister steals from him. Mom's face went pale. What are you talking about? I opened the folder and spread the statements across their kitchen table like I was dealing cards. I'm talking about this. $5,000 stolen from my account over the past year. Small amounts, regular withdrawals, all going to fund Emma's lifestyle. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma's face went white as she stared at the evidence of her theft. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's jaw worked silently as he tried to process what he was seeing. That's not stealing, Mom finally stammered. That's family helping family. Family helping family? My voice was rising now, and I couldn't stop it. Did you ask me if I wanted to help? Did you tell me you were taking my money? Did you give me a choice in funding Emma's shopping sprees? You would have said no, Emma whispered, and for the first time in her life, she looked ashamed. You're damn right I would have said no. I slammed my hand on the table and they all jumped. Because it's my money. Money I earned. Money I needed. Money I saved by working overtime while you were out getting your nails done. Dad tried to regain control. Now son, calm down. We can explain. Explain what? Explain how you raised me to believe in honesty and integrity while you were teaching Emma to steal? Explain how you lectured me about responsibility while enabling her to be a parasite? Explain how you threatened to disown me for not funding her prom while you were literally robbing me. The words were pouring out of me now, years of suppressed resentment and hurt flowing like a broken dam. Do you know what I've sacrificed for this family? Do you have any idea what I've given up to help Emma? I haven't taken a real vacation in 3 years because every time I save up money, there's some Emma emergency that needs funding. Mom was crying now, but I couldn't bring myself to care. We thought We thought you wouldn't mind. You make good money and Emma needs. Emma needs to get a job. I shouted. Emma needs to learn what work means. Emma needs to understand that money doesn't just magically appear when you want something. I turned to my sister, this 22-year-old woman who'd never held a real job, never paid a bill, never faced a real consequence for her actions. You want $1,200 for prom? Get a job. Work 40 hours a week for minimum wage for a month. See how long it takes you to earn that money. See how hard you have to work for what you've been stealing from me. Emma's tears were flowing freely now, but there was still defiance in her eyes. You're being cruel. It's just money. Just money. I exploded. Just money? Do you know what that just money represents? That's hours of my life I'll never get back. That's weekends I worked instead of resting. That's stress and pressure and responsibility that you've never had to face because you've been living off MY labor. Dad stood up, trying to assert his authority. That's enough. You're upsetting your mother and sister. I'm upsetting them? I laughed bitterly. I'm upsetting them? They've been stealing from me for a year, and I'm the one who's out of line for being upset about it. We did this for Emma's future, Dad said, and I could hear the weakness in his voice. We wanted to give her opportunities. At my expense. I cut him off. You wanted to give her opportunities using MY money. Money you took without permission. Money you had no right to. I gathered up the statements and stood up. You want to know what this is really about? It's not about prom. It's not about helping family. It's about the fact that you've never seen me as anything more than a bank account with legs. Mom reached out to me, her eyes pleading. Honey, please. We love you. We're sorry. We can pay you back. With what money? I demanded. You're broke. You've been broke for years, living off my success and telling yourselves it's for Emma's good. You don't have $5,000 to pay me back because you've never learned to live within your means. The truth of that statement hung in the air like a toxic cloud. They were broke. They'd been broke for years, propped up by my contributions, sustained by my guilt, enabled by my inability to say no to family. And you know what the worst part is? I continued, my voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more weight than my shouting. You made me feel guilty for not giving more. You made me feel like a bad son, a bad brother, for wanting to keep the money I earned. You manipulated my love for you into a weapon against my own financial security. Emma finally spoke up, her voice small and broken. I didn't know. I didn't know you felt this way. Of course you didn't know, I said, and the sadness in my voice surprised me. You never asked. You never wondered where the money was coming from. You just took and took and took, and when I finally said no, you threatened to cut me out of the family. I looked around at these people who had shaped my life, who had taught me right from wrong, who had raised me to be responsible and honest and hardworking. And I realized that they had failed their own lessons. They had become everything they'd taught me not to be. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady now. I'm done. Done funding Emma's lifestyle. Done being your emergency bank. Done sacrificing my future for her comfort. Those automatic payments I canceled? They're staying canceled. That money you've been stealing? Consider it a very expensive lesson in consequences. Dad's face was red with anger now. You can't just abandon your family. I'm not abandoning my family, I replied calmly. My family abandoned me the moment they decided I was nothing more than a source of income. My family abandoned me when they chose theft over honesty. My family abandoned me when they threatened to disown me for not enabling Emma's entitlement. I walked toward the door, then turned back for one final statement. Emma, you want to go to prom? Get a job. Work for it. Earn it. Learn what the rest of us learned years ago, that nothing in life is free and everything has a cost. And Mom, Dad, you want to enable her? You want to keep treating her like a princess? Do it with your own money. Stop stealing mine. The door slammed behind me with a finality that echoed through my entire body. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, shaking with adrenaline and grief and relief all at once. I'd done it. I'd finally stood up to them. I'd finally said no and meant it. But the real reckoning was just beginning. Over the next few weeks, I watched my family's house of cards collapse in real time. Without my financial support, the cracks in their foundation became chasms. Emma's car got repossessed first. Turns out they'd been using my auto pay to cover the loan, and when that disappeared, they had no way to make the payments. Watching her take the bus to her part-time job at a coffee shop, her first real job ever, was both heartbreaking and satisfying. The credit cards came next. All those charges they'd been making, assuming I'd cover them, came due at once. The interest rates they'd ignored because they'd never planned to pay the balances themselves became crushing weights around their necks. Mom called me crying 3 weeks after our confrontation. The mortgage company called, she sobbed. We're behind on payments. We might lose the house. I listened to her cry and I felt nothing. No guilt, no urge to swoop in and save them. Just a deep, cold anger that they'd put themselves in this position and expected me to fix it. How long have you been behind? I asked. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. They'd been stealing from me for a year while they weren't even paying their own mortgage. They'd prioritized Emma's shopping sprees over keeping a roof over their heads, and somehow that was supposed to be my problem. You need to talk to the bank, I said. Work out a payment plan. Maybe sell some of Emma's designer clothes to make a payment. How can you be so cruel? Mom asked. Cruel? I laughed bitterly. I'm being realistic. You created this mess by living beyond your means and stealing from me to fund it. I'm not cruel for refusing to enable it anymore. Dad lost his temper during our last conversation. You owe us, he shouted. We raised you. We fed you. We put a roof over your head. Until I was 18, I replied calmly. After that, I paid my own way. And I never asked you to have children. You chose to be parents, which means you chose the responsibility of providing for your kids. That's not a debt I owe you. That's a basic parental obligation you fulfilled. We sacrificed for you. And I've more than repaid those sacrifices, I said. I've given this family tens of thousands of dollars over the years. I've sacrificed my own financial security for Emma's comfort. I've worked overtime to fund her lifestyle while I lived modestly. The debt has been paid with interest. The conversation ended with him hanging up on me. Emma tried a different approach. She showed up at my apartment one evening, looking genuinely contrite for the first time in her life. I got a job, she said quietly. 2 jobs, actually. I'm working at the coffee shop during the day and babysitting at night. Good, I said, and I meant it. I want to pay you back, she continued. For the money, for what I took. I know it was wrong. I looked at my little sister, really looked at her, and for a moment I saw not the entitled princess my parents had created, but a young woman who was finally learning what responsibility meant. It'll take years, I said. At minimum wage, paying back $5,000 while covering your own expenses, it'll take years. I know, she said. But I want to do it. I need to do it. I nodded. Okay. But understand something. This doesn't fix everything. Trust isn't rebuilt with money. It's rebuilt with consistent actions over time. She cried then, and for the first time in years, her tears seemed genuine. 3 months after our confrontation, my parents lost the house. They had to move into a small apartment across town, selling most of their furniture to make the security deposit. The golden child's paradise was gone, replaced by the harsh reality of living within their actual means. Emma's prom? She didn't go. She couldn't afford it, even working 2 jobs, because she was trying to pay rent and buy groceries and handle all the basic adult responsibilities she'd never had to face before. She spent prom night working a babysitting gig, earning $12 an hour while her classmates danced in dresses that cost more than she made in a month. And you know what? I didn't feel guilty about it. Not for 1 second. Because this is what should have happened years ago. This is what real consequences look like. This is what happens when entitled people finally have to face reality without someone else's money to cushion the fall. For the first time in my adult life, I had money in my savings account. Real money, accumulating month after month because it wasn't being siphoned off to fund someone else's lifestyle. I bought myself things I'd been denying myself for years: a new laptop, decent furniture, a vacation to somewhere I'd always wanted to go. I ate dinner without my phone buzzing with demands for money. I slept without the stress of wondering what financial emergency would hit next week. I lived my life for me, and it was wonderful. But the real victory wasn't financial, it was emotional. I'd broken the cycle of guilt and manipulation that had controlled me for years. I'd proven to myself that I could say no and stick to it. I'd learned that love without boundaries isn't love at all, it's exploitation. My parents still call occasionally, though the conversations are strained and brief. They want to rebuild the relationship, they say, but they refuse to acknowledge the full scope of what they did to me. They talk about misunderstandings and mistakes as if stealing $5,000 was an accounting error. Emma is different. The spoiled princess is gone, replaced by someone who understands what work means. She's still paying me back $20 at a time, and she's never missed a payment. She's learned to budget, to prioritize, to make choices based on what she can afford rather than what she wants. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh. Sometimes I question whether I should have forgiven them more quickly, helped them through the transition, eased their fall from their house of cards. But then I remember that night when my hands were shaking as I canceled everything. I remember the betrayal, the theft, the years of manipulation disguised as love. I remember being threatened with exile from my own family because I wouldn't fund a prom dress. And I know I made the right choice. Family doesn't mean obligation. Love shouldn't come with a price tag. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's destructive behavior, even when that someone is family. I learned that survival isn't selfish, it's necessary. I learned that saying no to family doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person with boundaries. I learned that the people who truly love you won't threaten to abandon you when you stop funding their lifestyle. The golden child fell from grace, and the family that worshipped her crumbled without my financial support. But I rose from the ashes of their manipulation stronger, healthier, and finally free. And that's worth more than all the prom dresses in the world. If you've ever had to set boundaries with family, share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one. Because sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones we need to have the most.